I need to say this before it happens again. If you hear the third knock on a winter night, don't check the door. I didn't listen. And if you stop this now, you'll never understand why that matters, because the knock isn't what you think it is, and by the time you realize the truth, it's already too late to undo what listening does. The third knock is never loud. That's the first lie people tell you about fear, that it announces itself. It doesn't. It waits until you're comfortable enough to doubt your instincts. It waits until the house feels safe. Until winter has softened every sound and wrapped the world in quiet so deep it feels protective. That night, nothing was wrong. That's what still unsettles me the most. No dread. No tension. No sense that something was about to fracture. The heater worked. The lights were steady. Snow pressed gently against the windows like a blanket pulled up to the chin of the house. I remember thinking how peaceful it felt, how winter always makes loneliness feel intentional, even chosen. I checked the door before bed. I always did in winter. Deadbolt locked. Chain on. No gaps. No drafts. I remember resting my hand on the wood for a second longer than necessary, feeling the cold seep through, and thinking nothing of it. That detail matters later, even if it doesn't seem like it should. When I turned off the lights, the dark didn't rush in. It settled. Slowly. Calmly. Like it belonged there. I lay down and listened to the house breathe, pipes ticking, the faint hum of electricity, the distant hush of snowfall. Winter has a way of convincing you that stillness means safety. The first knock was so quiet I almost missed it. It didn't sound like wood being struck. It sounded like pressure. Like something leaning its weight briefly against a surface and then pulling away. I waited. Counted my breaths. The house went on humming like nothing had happened. I told myself it was the pipes. The second knock came a few minutes later, and this one had direction. That's when my chest tightened. It didn't come from the door. It came from the hallway outside my bedroom. Not against a wall. Not from the ceiling. From a place where knocking didn't make sense. I sat up in bed and listened. The silence afterward was heavier now, like the house was holding something back. That's when I realized the sound wasn't random. It wasn't environmental. It had intention. Distance. Placement. Something wasn't knocking at my home. It was knocking through it. I didn't move. I didn't call out. That detail bothers people when I tell them this part. They expect panic. Chaos. But fear like this doesn't explode. It compresses. It turns inward. It convinces you that stillness is survival. The breathing stopped when I held my breath. That was when I knew it was listening. After that night, winter never felt the same. Snow stopped looking clean. It looked like residue. Like something left behind after a fire you couldn't see. The house felt subtly rearranged, though nothing had moved. Doorways felt narrower. Corners darker. Silence heavier, like it had weight. The knocks didn't return immediately. That was deliberate. Whatever had started this understood patience better than I did. When they came back, they didn't follow rules anymore. Sometimes one knock. Sometimes two. Sometimes three, spaced far enough apart to make me doubt my memory. Once, I heard it from inside the walls, traveling slowly, as if something were testing the structure from the inside out. Another time, it came from beneath the floor, directly under my bed, close enough that the mattress vibrated. I began noticing patterns I wish I hadn't. The knocks only happened when it was cold enough that my breath fogged the air. Only after midnight. Only when I was alone. And never when I was already afraid. That last detail took me too long to understand. Fear wasn't the goal. Recognition was. I tried staying awake. I tried sleeping with lights on. I played music loud enough to shake the windows. The knocks always found the silence between sounds. They slipped into pauses. Into moments when my attention drifted. It was never aggressive. Never rushed. It knew time was on its side. I found the recording by accident weeks later while scrolling through my phone, half asleep, my thumb moving without intention. An audio file I didn't remember creating. No title. No description. Just a timestamp. Dated 3 winters ago. I almost deleted it. Almost. Something about the length stopped me. Too long to be accidental. Too deliberate to be meaningless. When I pressed play, I had to lower the phone immediately because the sound of my own voice hit me like a physical thing. I was crying. Not hysterical. Controlled. Whispering, like I was afraid of being overheard. I said the same sentence again and again. If you hear the third knock, don't check the door. I didn't remember recording it. I didn't remember that winter at all. But my voice did. As the audio continued, details surfaced that made my stomach drop. Descriptions of rooms arranged exactly as they were now, of cracks in the ceiling I hadn't noticed until recently, of a winter storm forecasted for the following night. Tonight. The final seconds of the recording were almost inaudible. My voice dropped to a whisper so quiet I had to hold the speaker to my ear. I already opened it once, I said. I don't think it needs the door anymore. That was when the knocking stopped completely. Not just that night. 4 days. The absence was worse than the sound. Silence without interruption isn't peace, it's anticipation. The house felt emptied, like something essential had been removed. I began sleeping poorly, not because of fear, but because some part of me was waiting for something that refused to arrive. When the storm came, it came fast. Snow thick enough to erase distance. Wind loud enough to flatten the world into white noise. Power went out just after midnight, plunging the house into darkness so complete it felt intentional. I sat in the living room, wrapped in a blanket, phone at 3%, listening to the storm press against the walls. That's when I heard the knock. Not on the door. On the window. 3 times. Evenly spaced. Patient. I stood before I realized I had moved. Every instinct screamed not to go closer, not to confirm what I already knew, but something else pulled at me, not curiosity, not fear, familiarity. Outside the window, snow drifted in smooth, untouched waves. No footprints. None leading away. But pressed faintly into the frost on the glass was the shape of a hand. From the inside. That's when memory returned in fragments, sharp and disjointed. The night years ago. The storm. The door. The moment I opened it, not because I was afraid, but because the knocking had stopped and the silence felt unbearable. Outside, there had been nothing. Inside, everything had changed. I finally understood the truth winter hides so well. Cold doesn't bring things closer. It makes space. Space for things that don't move like us. That don't age like us. That don't knock to be let in but to be acknowledged. The third knock isn't a warning. It's a confirmation. If you're listening to this late at night, and the room around you feels quieter than it should, pay attention. If your breath fogs the air even though the heat is on, pay attention. And if you start to notice pauses between sounds that feel deliberate, like something is waiting for you to notice the gap, that means it already has. I checked the metadata on this recording before uploading it. It says it was created tomorrow night. So if you hear knocking after this ends, remember what I told you at the beginning. Don't check the door. It doesn't need you to open it. It just needs you to listen. And now that you have, it knows where you are. And even as you think you've finished hearing my story, there's something subtle you may not realize. That first knock, the one that made me pause that night, the one you imagined happening outside your own walls while listening, it doesn't just happen once. It happens in loops you can't hear consciously. It lingers. It registers. And somewhere deep, somewhere that doesn't feel safe, it starts counting not to 3, but endlessly. So remember, the next time the cold presses against your windows, the silence becomes too heavy, and your breath fogs in the air, that this isn't just a story. You've already listened. You've already counted. And it knows.